music before I get into the stories I want to share today. I need to mention something that genuinely changed the way I handled my own habits. A while back, I discovered a simple little device called Fume. It isn't a vape, and it doesn't have nicotine, so there's no addictive pull to it. It's just flavored air. But somehow it scratches that restless need to do something with your hands, or to reach for something when you're feeling stressed. My favorite part is that it doesn't need batteries, so there's no hassle with charging. I like the way it feels in my hand. There's something grounding about it, almost like a stress toy you can actually use without guilt. Over 300,000 people have already tried it, which still blows my mind. And for a limited time, if you use my code NIGHTMARE, you can get a free topper that slips over the mouthpiece. The topper has a warmer, softer feel, and is even chewable if you're the kind of person who likes to fidget. If you're curious, you can go to tryfume.com or scan the QR code on the screen when you order a journey pack. Now, let's get into tonight's stories. I wasn't the most social kid in college. I didn't make the dean's list. I wasn't in a fraternity, and I didn't have a girlfriend. Back then I felt invisible, just another face in a crowd of thousands. Looking back, I realized I was a little lonely, but I didn't know how to fix it. These days, life looks different. I'm in my late 30s. I share a quiet home with my girlfriend, soon to be my fiancé, and we have 2 cats, Blue and Raz, who have pretty much claimed the couch as their throne. But when I think back to my college years, it's almost like opening a box of old photographs, and some of those nights still creep into my dreams. I had 2 close friends then, Bryson and Ian. Like me, they weren't part of the frat scene either. Most weekends we just hung out in Bryson's dorm room, playing video games or talking about everything and nothing. But sometimes, the itch to feel like real college kids got the better of us. We didn't get many invitations, so when a party came up, no matter where it was, we would go. I remember one time we even drove more than an hour just to crash a party. That's how desperate we were for something that felt like a story to tell later. One Friday afternoon, Ian texted us in the group chat saying that a girl he'd been talking to online had invited him to a party. Ian had a knack for finding the most unusual people to talk to, the sort of girls who looked like they had stepped out of an anime convention or a late-night metal concert. Bryson rolled his eyes and joked that we were probably headed to some dark basement where everyone wore black eyeliner and chanted 2 heavy guitar riffs. But Ian insisted this was just a normal party. Honestly, we didn't have anything better to do, so we decided to go. Bryson's older brother Chris offered to drive us. He didn't drink, so he became our built-in designated driver. As we headed down the highway with music humming through the car speakers, Ian kept staring at his phone, getting more and more agitated. The girl who had invited him, her name was Callista, hadn't answered his last few messages. He muttered about maybe turning back, but we were already 30 minutes into the drive. We told him to chill out and just let the night play out. Then, halfway there, Ian went quiet and said that Callista's profile had completely disappeared. He'd been blocked. The rest of us laughed it off, teasing him that she probably ditched him for someone cooler. But I could see the frustration in his eyes. He sulked the rest of the ride. When we finally pulled up to the party, our disappointment melted away. The house was massive compared to the small, cramped student apartments we were used to. There was a steady flow of people heading in, music drifting out the front door. Ian wanted to drink before going in, so we parked down the street, cracked open a few beers, and tried to psych ourselves up for the night ahead. Once Ian had enough of a buzz to forget about Callista, we headed inside. The moment I stepped over the threshold, something felt wrong. All the overhead lights were on bright, almost harsh, instead of the dim, colored lighting you'd expect at a college party. The crowd wasn't wearing casual jeans and hoodies either. Most people were dressed almost formally, like they had just left a dinner party or a wedding reception. The music didn't help either. It wasn't rap or EDM or anything you could easily dance to. It was slow, dreamy, almost otherworldly, like a soundtrack from a place where time moved differently. We all exchanged uneasy looks, but we'd come all this way, so we grabbed some drinks and tried to blend in. After a while, I noticed that some of the partygoers were watching me. Their eyes lingered just a second too long before they quickly looked away. At first I thought I was imagining it. Maybe it was just because we weren't dressed like them. Still, It left a chill in my stomach. Chris, who never drank, eventually said he was going back to the car to smoke and wait. He clearly wasn't feeling the party. A little later, 3 girls approached us, smiling and laughing, carrying a bottle of tequila. They teased us about needing to pay an entrance fee, but then they handed over the bottle, and we didn't hesitate. After that, we stuck together, drinking, talking, and dancing. I ended up spending most of the night near a girl named Tina. Up close I noticed something strange. A thin green line running across her neck, almost like it had been drawn on with a marker. I wanted to ask about it, but worried it might be a birthmark or something personal. Still, I couldn't stop staring at it when she turned her head. As the night wore on, Bryson and his girl disappeared upstairs. Ian followed soon after with the girl he had been talking to. I was feeling jittery, the alcohol doing little to calm my nerves, so I told Tina I'd be right back and went to find a bathroom. I finally spotted one, but the door was locked. I waited in the hall until a tall, older guy in a crisp white shirt stepped out. As I brushed past him, I felt him stop and stare at me. His expression was unsettling, not angry, just watchful, like he was sizing me up. That's when I noticed the exact same green line on his neck. It was identical to Tina's. I tried to play it cool and asked him if there was a problem. He tilted his head slightly, smirked, and in a low voice asked, "Who invited you?" I blurted out Callista's name without thinking. His smirk faded into something darker. "Do you see Callista here?" he asked, his eyes flat and unblinking. I couldn't think of a response. My stomach nodded. I shoved past him and closed the bathroom door. When I came back out, he was gone. But I couldn't shake the feeling of being out of place, like I had stumbled into something I wasn't supposed to see. As I moved through the crowd, I started looking closely at people's necks. To my growing horror, I spotted more of those faint green lines, identical in shape and color. Not everyone had them, but enough did that my unease turned into real fear. I pushed through the crowd to the staircase and ran into Bryson and Ian coming back down. I pulled them aside and told them we had to leave. They laughed it off, saying I was drunk and jealous. But then I noticed a thin red line on Ian's neck, and when Bryson turned his head, I saw one on him too. My blood ran cold. I told him again that we needed to get out of there, but Ian refused. He said his girl told him to meet her upstairs. That's when another partygoer passed by us, slowed his steps just enough to stare, and I saw the same green line on his neck. That was enough for Bryson and me. We grabbed Ian by the arm and dragged him out. It felt like the entire room turned to watch us go, their eyes following us until we were outside. We sprinted down the street to Chris's car. He took one look at our faces, started the engine, and drove. As we sped away, both Ian's and Bryson's phones began to buzz with messages from the girls they'd been with, asking why they had left. There was no way they could have known we were gone that fast. Both of them blocked the numbers without replying. To this day, I don't know what we stumbled into that night, and I'm not sure I ever want to. Music. A few years later, during graduate school at Purdue, I thought I'd finally found a rhythm. I rented a cheap apartment far from campus, in a rougher neighborhood than I would have liked, but the rent was affordable. The only real downside was that my landlord never seemed to care about anything beyond collecting rent. I had a car and didn't mind the drive to campus. For a while, life felt predictable. Then, one afternoon, I left my backpack in a lecture hall while I stepped out to use the bathroom. When I came back, it was gone. My laptop, wallet, and keys. All of it vanished. I reported it, canceled my cards, and asked the landlord about changing my locks, but he brushed me off. I told myself it was just bad luck. A few days later, I came home to find a note slipped under my apartment door. It was handwritten in blocky letters. I see you. No name. No signature. My stomach dropped. The realization hit me all at once. Whoever had taken my backpack now had my apartment keys, and had probably gone through my laptop. I slammed the deadbolt shut and sat there staring at the note until my hands stopped shaking. More notes followed. Short phrases like, "I know what you did, and watch yourself." I didn't know whether to call the police or wait it out. Part of me hoped it was just some messed up prank. One night, I was getting ready for bed when I saw a flash outside my window, the unmistakable burst of a camera. I rushed to pull the blinds down, my heart hammering. I barely slept that night. Soon after, I started noticing little things moved around the apartment. A jacket draped over a chair instead of hanging where I left it. A pair of shoes shifted out of place. I told myself I was being paranoid until the day I came home to find my bedroom in shambles. Drawers yanked open, books scattered, sheets stripped off the bed. I called the police, but since nothing was stolen, and there were no signs of forced entry, they said there wasn't much they could do. I begged my landlord to change the locks, but he refused to treat it as an emergency. That night I barely slept, staring at the door with a baseball bat beside me, wondering if I'd wake up to someone standing over me. Music around the same time, I heard a story from a classmate that made my skin crawl. She had just ended a 2-year relationship with her boyfriend, Ben. They'd had a rocky few months, and when they finally broke up, she blocked him on everything and tried to move on. But a few nights later, she started hearing quiet footsteps outside her second-floor apartment window. At first, she thought she was imagining it, then assumed it was Ben being clingy. She wasn't too scared at first. He had never been violent, but she underestimated how far things would go. She was leading a group project for one of her classes and had stayed up all night editing their final video presentation. She emailed it to the professor just before midnight and went to bed, exhausted. The next day, as the professor began the class presentation, what played on the projector wasn't their project. It was a grainy video of someone in a mask spewing vile rants, personal insults, conspiracy theories, even things about her that made no sense, but were enough to humiliate her in front of everyone. She sat frozen in a chair as the room filled with whispers and stares, finally breaking down in tears before running out of the lecture hall. It turned out her email had been hacked. She changed her passwords, but a week later she was locked out of her Snapchat account. Someone had gotten in again. The police questioned Ben, who admitted to sharing her personal information on some online forum in anger after the breakup, but he hadn't hacked her accounts. The real culprit remained unknown. A few weeks passed quietly, and she started to think it was over, until a new account added her on Snapchat and sent her private pictures of herself, ones she had never shared. She blocked them, but more accounts kept appearing, sending more pictures and veiled threats. She knew they had her address. Every night she lay awake, wondering if the person watching her online was also outside her window. She told me this story through tears, and even as I tried to comfort her, I realized how easily that could happen to anyone. We trust our devices too much. We think we're safe because we have locks on our doors, but sometimes the real danger is the invisible stranger behind a screen who already knows exactly where you live. Music,